when I say relationship matters, we have a relationship with the weather here in Chicago. Now, yesterday and the day before, it was in the 80s. Right now, well, it doesn't say on here, but right now it's blustery, it's cloudy, and I think it might be 50 degrees. We don't know what to wear. On one day, you have on your sundress, your shorts, you're driving with your top down. And then the next day, you have a little jacket on. But anyway, we're just glad to be here anyway. Well, let's see. Today, I have a special guest that I would like to introduce you to. So let me tell you a little bit about her first before I bring her on. Her name is Kenya Matoya. I use some Matoyas. I have to ask her if she's related to them. But anyway, she is a personal growth strategist. She is passionate about helping individuals confront the real challenges in their lives, whether they're looking to break free from outdated habits. We're going to talk about that. Build emotional resilience or discover their true selves. Her approach combines direct, no nonsense strategies with a supportive and empowering environment. She ensures that you feel both challenged and understood throughout your journey. Now, Kenya's keepsake. She guides clients through a transformative process of unlearning what no longer serves you and relearning the strengths and skills that you need to thrive. And she believes in pushing boundaries. So let me, as they say, without further ado, bring your girl, Kenya. Hell, you are on mute.
Oh, how are you?
I am just great. How are you?
I am doing well. I am doing well. I am so happy to be here. Looking forward to this. We have been anticipating this for a while, and I am so happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad. Yeah, you're right. You're right. We have been anticipating this, and I'm very, very excited to meet you.
Thank
Um,
you. Get
okay,
some light in
so
here.
someone, yes, just says, Maxine Walker says, good evening, everyone.
Oh, good
So, good
evening.
evening,
Yes.
Maxine. Good evening, Maxine. So, Kenya,
Yes.
your girl, Kenya.
Yes.
First of all, let's start with this. Uh,
Mhm.
Tell my audience, what is a personal growth strategist?
Yes. Well, relationship coach is my overall title, but adding the personal growth strategist to that within the past 2 years came from just knowing that it wasn't just about relationships. Because I started Kenya's Keepsake in 2016. And when I would say relationship coach, people, I don't want that. Oh, I'm not in one of those. And I was like, no, it's not just your intimate relationship. You have relationships with your colleagues, your family, and just your peers. And so, for what I do, is I help any individual unlearn and relearn. And so, within the last 2 years, because unfortunately people are like moving away from the relationships, I added it. Hey, it starts with you. You have to personally grow. And when you do that, you will heal yourself, you will learn, like you said, I said before, the you will outgrow your old patterns that you learn. And when you do that, you learn your personal self. And then you'll learn to have better relationships. So that's what a personal growth strategist is. And what I do is how we do, because everything is strategic. You have to want to do what you have to do and thoroughly think about it. So when it comes to yourself, no one really strategically plans or think about their own growth, because everything that they're going through in the world, you want to please your boss, your family, or whatever it is. But when it comes to yourself, you don't really think about it. You don't plan your self-care dates. You don't plan or prioritize yourself. And so I come up with strategies and roadmaps, and I do them in entertaining ways, any type of way that will help stick and apply. Because you can give someone a worksheet. You can tell someone to do this step by step. Yeah, but if you give it to them in a way that that is tailored to them, because everything that I do is tailored to the individual that I'm speaking with. Nothing is the same at all. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't even remember what I my strategy with the last person was, because it's not gonna work for everyone. So that's the long answer to what a personal growth strategist is.
Okay, okay. So, and you said something about outdated habits.
Hmm.
How?
Yes.
So, let's say, when you were having a conversation with
Hmm.
your clients,
Hmm.
how do you get them to know that their habits might be outdated?
Hmm. First, by knowing where they got it from and what's repetitive to them. So if it's always my mom did it this way, or in my household, or granny said, or type of things like that, or my father, that's when I know that you're going off of outdated beliefs. Also, because if it isn't working for you,
Okay.
it's not working. So when it's not working, that's the key point, that it's outdated. Because again, I'm not saying that, what everyone taught us, some of those things we honestly need to go back to, Dr. Jan. Let me tell you, okay? Some of those outdated things we do need to go back to. But the ones that I want people to pay attention to are the ones that aren't working for them.
And so how, let's say I'm one of your clients,
Hmm.
and so what would you ask me? How would you find out the habits that I have? And suppose I say to you, well, it's working for me.
Hmm.
You but you see from having the conversation with me and the things
Yes.
that I'm saying, wait a
Yes.
minute, you're saying that it's serving you. So how do you not break down, but how do
Yeah.
you get that person, or how would you get me to really
Hmm.
say, well, yeah, well, maybe you're right. That habit isn't really working for me.
Hmm.
That's hard to do with your clients.
No, and let me tell you a secret, Dr. Jan. Don't tell nobody, okay? Except for the people that's watching, all right?
82,000.
Yes. Again, I tailor everything, and I make everything a game, animated, a worksheet, or anything. So the first thing that I would do is I will give you what I call a keepsake relationship resume. I give them to my clients. Sometimes I even pass them out at my mixers, because I hold monthly relationship mixers, but they're called Battle of Perspectives because they're for everybody: men, women, couples, singles. And it's called, again, a keepsake relationship resume. Now, that right there, oh, that will give anyone a light bulb moment. All right. Some people be like, ooh, can I have another sheet?
Oh, okay.
you know, because it's just like any other resume, and it's spread out like name, date, from here, reason for leaving, et cetera, et cetera. So when you start to look at those things, that gives people the aha moment and the light bulb moment to know, like you said before, maybe these things aren't working out for me. Or you'll see, here it was working, it wasn't working here. Here, what did I do different? And then that's when we start our session and go from there and start unfolding everything.
Okay. And Sandy Barney, and it says, what works for one doesn't work for all.
Exactly. And that goes back to the outdated beliefs. Again, just because you were taught by your grandmother or your father or your uncles up there, it might or might not have worked for them, and it might or might not work for you. And not only because of, you know, outdated beliefs, but because of the times, the resources, personality. That could be the number one, is personality. Everyone is not the same. They don't process the same. They do not communicate the same, etc. Now, again, yes, genes, DNA, there are similarities, but that's still, once you have environment coming to the equation,
Yeah.
peers coming to the equation, relationships coming into the equation, then everything can change. And then you'll say, who raised you? You know?
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
So do you get a lot of, so when people come to you, and
Hmm.
so I'm assuming that they're coming to you because they want to get out of those outdated habits, you know.
Yes.
And but once they come to you, because what I found sometimes is that they come to you for a reason, but then it's hard for them to, like you say, discover who they really are. You know, their true
Yes.
self. It's like it's hard to look in a mirror for a long time
Yes.
and really
Yes.
look into your eyes,
Yes.
and because you get a little uncomfortable. And so, is that difficult for people to really get to their true selves so that you can work with them?
Yes and no. Again, every session is different and every client is different. I come to some of them that, for an example, if it's through a referral, then they're
Mhm.
already comfortable because they have an idea on, how, and that's the reason why they came to me in the first place, is that they felt that
Okay.
they could be open with me. But I have had that issue with couples, so where one, the referring couple, or the partner that reached out to me, right, was the one that was more open than the partner that they brought along. And that's where I found the most challenging, is because that partner isn't open. That partner doesn't want to, cooperate, or sometimes don't even show up. And then that
Mhm.
adds extra energy to the present partner that is very open and things like that. So I have run into those issues as well. But when it comes to the referral and the clients, or they have seen me somewhere speak or social media, and when they do reach out to me, they say those things like, "Hey, I love what you said, and I believe that you can help me out with this situation. May I have your booking site?"
Okay. All
Yeah.
righty. So I imagine it is, well, you said like each one is tailored to the
Hmm.
individual. So I imagine
Yeah.
that it is a little difficult if when it's couples, and then you have
Hmm.
one who really, wants to enhance their relationship, or, even
Yes.
enhance themselves. But then you have
Yes.
the other person who is not cooperative, so to
Hmm.
speak, or
Yes.
or who maybe even feels that we don't need that.
Yes.
You
Oh,
know,
absolutely. I've run into those as well, who is just reluctant, like, we don't need anything. I've even heard, like, "Ah, they know I love them," because they don't see what the issue is. But one of good things, Dr. Jan, is that, like you said, personal growth. I have had it to where, in that situation, that one partner continued on with me individually to work on themselves, to understand that it starts. And so, again, that's why I moved into the personal growth strategist part, because it doesn't have to be for the sake of the relationship with your
okay,
other partner. It can start with yourself. So therefore, if your partner is not willing and open, but you are, don't lose that. I would never want anyone to lose the fire to have that opportunity for personal growth just because someone else isn't open, someone else isn't understanding, someone else isn't willing. And that's where the personal growth comes into.
okay. So what made you become um well, I'll say relationship coach or personal growth
Mhm,
strategist. What made you become
mhm.
that?
Yes. It started with my own personal story of me just being in corporate. I was in corporate for many, many, many years, and people would just come into my office and start talking about their personal relationships. And I was in advertising. That was not my title. I was in marketing and advertising, and it just came upon me. And one day, years later, I was in a Wendy's bathroom washing my hands, and a lady bust in there and started telling me her relationship issues. And I was like, okay, this is where I need to be. So then after I went to college to get all of the certificates, degrees, and everything else, it was in the mix that it came with my own personal experience with my daughter's father, because I was engaged and unengaged all in 1 year. And I thought that it was the most cordial breakup that I could have ever done. And it did not
Really?
turn that way because of him on his side. And
Okay.
again, that comes with the personal growth and the understanding that every individual is different and you can't tailor it that way. I felt that because I just went to him and said, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore," that he was going to say, "All right, cool. What's the plan?" Not really understanding that what that could have meant for him. And it was a rough path with him trying to understand that I just wanted to be cordial and I didn't love him and I didn't want to marry him. And it just went left. So, with that personal experience, along with what I've studied and what I felt that I needed people to understand that it is okay to know yourself and be okay with splitting up from your partner if you don't want to. Too many people wait for trauma. Too many
Yeah.
people wait for dramatic experiences when simply the answer could be, I don't think I like this person. I
Oh,
don't really think this is going to work, you know? And, or I just want to be friend, or I don't see that in the future. And I say this all the time. I wanted to be his friend. It just wasn't the romantic, the future. I didn't see that. But it doesn't always happen that way.
okay. So here's a question here. Um came in. Can you say something about one of your most fascinating clients? Don't mention any
Ooh,
names, of course.
yes. No, no, no names. And it's my fascinating and my favorite too, because it was a situation with the couple. I mean, this client, and she's still my favorite to this day. And this went back from 2018. We met. She brought her man to one of my mixers, and I hold them monthly. And this has been since 2016. Every month, they would come. She would be very active. He would be in the corner. She'd be very active. He'd be in the corner. And this kept going on and on. And then with the clients, so how I like to do my sessions with my couples is I start off with the couples together, and then I do them individually after that. So it starts with 4 sessions: couples, individual, individual, and then I bring them back together. Well, the couples, he would be quiet, she would be, and then hers, it would go above and beyond and extend, because I never want to cut someone off, because when you
Okay.
open up, you open up. It would extend. When I got to his individual session, I could have been gone in 10 minutes. Like, it was crickets, not willing, brought them back together. So this went on for about 6 months. And then they finally took a break. She finally gave up. Well, over the years, I'm going somewhere with this. Over the years, she would pay for the sessions, and he would just stop showing up. Like, and then she would say, "Hey, how was it?" I was like, "You didn't know he didn't come today?" And then she would purchase. I like to do $5 challenges every now and then. She would purchase it for him. He unsubscribed from my email list. Like, so I told her, I said, "Hey, I am no longer going to take any money from you for him. If you would like to continue with me, then I am going, so that was in 2020, and I'm glad to say by 20, I think 2 years after that, She finally split. She was over it. She had broken up with him, and she came to one of my mixers maybe 3 months ago and gave this big testimony and told everybody she wished she would have listened to me back many years ago, because she's the freest she's ever been right now. And her fears, because she would fear that he would leave her hanging financially and with the children and all these type of things. And she said that her fears were just her own fears, because although it was still a struggle, her worst fears he didn't even do. He didn't even put her to the things that she made up in her mind that
Okay.
was going to be if she left. So that's the most fascinating client that I have today. And it's because I have seen her growth just as a person, as a woman, as a mother. And then other people that know her will send me a message like, I don't know what you did with her, but I see a growth in her. So those are the type of things that keep me going.
Okay. So what about your mixers? Tell me.
Mhm.
So tell me about them.
Yes.
Tell us about them.
So they started off in 2016 called Kenya's Catch and Keeps. And it's because with Kenya's keepsake, I want you to catch the keepsakes that I'm giving. Well, everybody thought it was a singles mixer, and I wanted them to come catch and keep a partner. And I was like, no, no, no. And so then I went to a panel where I would have an all male panel and an all women audience, because it was more about the women listening to the men and the men expressing. Now, I would gather the questions from the audience, of course, because they want real things, but I needed my men to speak uninterrupted, because they always say that the ladies don't listen to them. But then after that happened so many times, they were like, hey, you should get a woman on the panel. And I said, all right. So then it became, now what it is the battle of perspectives, because I don't like battle of the sexes. We're not battling each other. We should never battle each other, but we do have different perspectives, whether you're a man or a woman. And now what it is that I have a panel. I'll take a male, a man and a woman, whoever, from different walks of life. Some are married, single, young, older, but it's a different perspective. And I still have an audience of everyone. It's open to everyone. I have vendors and things, and we break it down in sections. I have an agenda, because these topics get so good when you ask the questions. Um, and that's how it is. So for 4 hours, we are there. There are vendors. We have food, and I also throw in a lesson. You're never not going to walk away with a lesson from me. So, like I said, whether it's the relationship resume that I give out in the beginning, I also teach a lot of tools. The 5 love languages is the most common one, but
Mhm.
my signature presentation that I do, because I also mentor youth and do corporations, is mastering conflict resolution. So I teach the
Very
5 conflict
needed.
resolution styles. And I just spoke at a speak sheet on mood mastery, and that is specifically for women. But I like to throw in a lot of those little keepsakes at my mixers. And what it does, and I do those in the beginning. So, for an example, I taught at the last one the 5 apology styles. And what it is once we start with the dialogue, if any scenario or something comes up, somebody be like, "Oh, that's the fifth apology style." And so
Well, now
I
wait a minute. You brought that up, so
want
now I want to know what are the five apologies.
apology styles. Okay, look, so now I have to look them up, because, and the reason why I'm looking them up is because I like to give the 5 apology styles, and then on the receiving end, because
Okay.
not everybody knows how to receive apologies also. So let me pick that. I love that you asked that. I love that. Let me pull that up for you. But while I'm doing that, that is the reason why I love throwing in games, because again, if you sit there and you just talk to someone and they're like, yeah, okay, if I would have just came and said, hey guys, the 5 apology styles are this, and this, they would be like, oh, okay, one ear and out the other, right? So the 5 apology styles are were let's see, the expressive apology style. That's the first one. That is when you express your apology with depth. That is, you are giving the reason why you did it. You are expressing your, your remorse and everything like that. Not just, I'm sorry, I apologize, will you forgive me? You are actually in tune with why you are apologizing, which is what a lot of people really want outside of I'm sorry. Because they're like, what are you sorry for? So
Yeah.
the expressive apology style is the one that says, this is what I did. I know, I apologize. The second one is the acceptance apology style. Now, that one is when they actually own up to it. It's similar to the expressive style, but it's more assertive. And so the expressive style, some people are more long-winded and, more empathetic. And that's when it's like, but this one, the accepting one is like, I made a mistake. I realize it. I'm not going to do it again.
Okay.
Like, that's just it.
Okay.
So that's the acceptance one because with that one, that person is the one that it was hard for them. And they don't want to go too deep. They don't want to be emotional because they already beat themselves up about it. So
Okay.
they're like, hey, I don't want you to beat me up. This is what it is. The other one is the restorative one. This one focuses more on fixing it. I apologize. This is what I did. When you and if you accept it, how can we fix it from here? This is what I plan to do to fix it. And how can you contribute to us planning to fix it? So that's the restorative one. Now, the explanation one is this one where, again, you give more, but it's with the understanding that it may or may not happen again, but give me some grace. Okay,
Okay.
please give me some grace. That's the explanatory apology style. And then it's the conditional one. That's the fifth one. Those are the ones that come as you can see with conditions. It's like, I apologize, but that's the one that is not the so positive one because it's like, I apologize, but you made me do it. Or I apologize, but
Yeah.
you know, you know. So those are the five. Now on the receiving end, because you can apologize and somebody can receive it differently. One of those is the not so accepting style. That's the one that's just like, I hear you, but unfortunately, that was so deep that I can't accept your apology.
Mm.
And then the other one, like it's here on this one, is the conditional accepting style. Now, that is the one is like, I accept your apology, but in order for me to accept it, you have to do this, or you have to not do this anymore. So those are the two on the opposite end because it's not just always welcome. There's two. You can either accept it or have it conditional.
Oh, very, very, very interesting. I never thought of that, even though people do that. I do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I never thought of, that there are different styles to it. Very
Yes.
interesting. So,
I teach them all. There's so many that people get into, like attachment styles. I know is a common one that some people might know, but there's attachment styles, like the communication style. There's so many because again, it's not just black or white. We all have different personalities. We all process things different as well. So when you again having the tools and you unlearn those outdated styles or those outdated beliefs and you relearn how to process differently because the world is so complex. Our minds are complex. And who we run into, again, it's not just about our intimate partners, our colleagues,
yeah,
are everywhere. You have to learn how to have the different styles, and everyone doesn't have the same style. So therefore, so when I do the mastering conflict resolution, people always say, because I do a quiz. I love quizzes too. I do quizzes, and I do a quiz so that you can find out your dominant. And when I do that one, they're like, well, I'm this way with my mom, but I'm definitely this way with, a coworker because I did. And exactly. So it is okay to have the different styles and different atmospheres because
Okay.
everyone is different.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I kind of want to go in a little bit on more on that, but I got to take a quick commercial. Don't go anywhere. Plus, I was on your LinkedIn page. I was on your
Hmm.
social media, of course, and I saw what you said, and I want to go talk about that too in the time we have left. About uh, let me make sure I jotted it down. 5 reasons to avoid setting expectations early in a relationship. So I really kind of want to talk about that a little bit. So,
Yes.
okay. So don't go anywhere, everyone. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back with Kenya. This is very, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting, especially about not setting expectations because I thought you're supposed to. But anyway, we'll be right back after this quick commercial. All right, I am back. We are back. So, Kenya, I'm going to jump straight to that 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 question.
Okay.
So, why why do you have to avoid setting expectations early in a relationship?
Mhm. Because it goes back to what we were saying, personal growth. Most people do not even know themselves. So when they set expectations for relationships, they're really just putting that pressure on the other person because they don't even know what they want. People are going around being okay with not even knowing themselves. So the expectations that you're setting, if you don't know where they're coming from, then you can't set them. So that is the main reason. But outside of that, it's pressure and it takes away the authenticity of the relationship and the other partner. So, for an example, if a guy asks, "What's your favorite color?" Mine is pink. For the next 6 months, everything that this man is going to buy me is going to be pink. That is what setting expectations early on in a relationship is going to set you up for, because that person is going to concentrate on pleasing you other than showing themselves authentically.
Isn't that what we want? Don't we?
Mm-mm.
I mean, don't we want that person to please us?
No, no, we want that person to be themselves. And if being themselves is pleasing to us, then we can move forward. Because what happens when they take off the mask? What happens when there's no more pink things out there to buy me? What else are
Okay.
you going to do? You're going to ask me another question. You're going to say, what's your favorite food now? And I'm going to say French fries. And now you're going to find every way to make a French fry for dinner to please me instead of you cooking for me one day and I'm like, oh, this is delicious. I love this. And it is not a French fry in sight. So now I am enjoying your food that you cooked for me just out of your pure effort. And
Okay.
that's why we don't want it. So
Okay.
that's the equivalence.
Okay. So most people, I think,
Mm-hmm.
go into a relationship with expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're saying don't set any,
Mm-hmm.
then this is I'm trying to understand this.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're saying don't expect any, so what you're saying is just go into this relationship and hopefully this person will show you their authentic self, and
Yes.
then you decide whether
Mm-hmm.
or not you want to be in that relationship. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes. Because everyone's going to alter something. It's going to be altered based on what you want. For an example, I do not want any more children. My daughter is 21 years old. That is not what I want. People, some guys out there, what if I take care of you? What if I this? Oh, you're still young. Are your tubes tight? I do not want any expectations. So I asked a guy immediately, I say, hey, you want any children? I don't go in and say, I don't want any children. Do you? Because here's what's going to happen. Scenario A, hey, do you want any more children? He's going to answer authentically. He's going to say, yes, I do want more children. Or he's going to be like, oh, no, I'm going to know if he wants them or not based on his answer. Scenario B, if I say, hey, I don't want any more children. Do you? He's going to say, nope, I don't, but deep down inside, he might really want children. So if we go on into that relationship later on, if we get into it years, he proposes, we get married, and then he wants a baby. I'm like, wait a minute. We talked to, he's like, yeah, but I said it because you didn't want any, but now I really, you see where we're going?
Okay.
So though that's the example, you have to, so when I say set them, don't don't make that the basis and the foundation of your relationship with that person. If you have to have expectation, see, a lot of people, they get standards or expectations or values, they think they're all intertwined, and that's not what it is. See, the problem with expectations, it is you expect something from someone, and it's unfair because you don't know that person. You don't know if they're even capable of giving you what you expect from them. So that's another reason why it applies that pressure that I said, because you don't even know if they can give you what you are expecting from them.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's a question. Gwendolyn Dunbar, I see your question, but and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring it up because it goes back to when we talked about apologies. But
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted to say, so the reason why I kind of went back into that expectations thing
Yeah.
is that when I met my husband, we wrote down
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you would call it expectations. In a sense, it was, but it was like, this is what I want,
Mm-hmm.
and then he wrote, this was what he wanted. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and in a sense, it was expectations. So,
No,
okay, no,
I'm gonna tell you why. Because you
okay,
just said it. You wrote down what you wanted. He
okay,
wrote
I
down what
got
I
you.
wanted. You didn't necessarily say, this is what you gonna do all of this. That's an
Got you.
expectation. If you put your husband's name
Got
on
you.
top and you said, hey, so that is the difference. between expectations.
Got you. Okay, so let's go back to this uh uh right quick. Gwendolyn Dunbar, and goes back to we were talking about apologies. She said,
Hmm.
"What if you find that the apology is the same as long as it works, and they don't really mean it? How can you recognize it, and what do you do?"
What do you mean as long as it works? Because if they don't mean it, it's not gonna work very long. So I think I'm a little confused about that, it being the same. But you will definitely, well, I guess the answer is in the question. You'll recognize if they don't mean it because it will no longer work.
Okay, so I guess in other words, this is what I'm getting from it. Is that the
Okay.
person apologizes and you accept their apology, but they only and so let's say you're in a relationship, they
Hmm.
apologize for something and you accept that their apology, but the only reason they apologize was maybe so they wanted to stay in the relationship,
Hmm.
but they really didn't mean the apology. In other words, it wasn't an authentic apology.
Hmm.
And I guess what she's asking is, how do you know that when they apologize, that it was
Hmm.
for real?
You have to go through one of those styles that I said and
Okay.
see if you have it on the receiving end. So, was it expressive? Was it remorseful? Did they explain to you? That's how you can tell when someone means something, is if they're expressive. Like, I remember the other one before is like, hey, I apologize, but that one you can recognize immediately. Remember, I said that's not the positive style that you want to run into. Or if they're expressive, if you feel that there's some compassion, that's how you can recognize it. But after that, changed behavior. That's how you can go after that. It's the change behavior. Because she also said, as long as it works. So again, as long as it's not repetitive and you see the change behavior. But you
Oh,
can also tell if there's going to be change behavior by which style they use.
okay, great. Uh, Now Sandy Barney Ennis has a comment. She
Okay.
says, I have two people in my life that I love.
Mm,
One is devoted to the marriage, the other could care less. Unfortunately, one has been stripped of every ounce of pride. I
mm,
would love to say run.
mm-hmm,
They have been counseled by many. Nothing works. But I will never give my honest opinion. It's
mm-hmm.
past the time to throw in the hat, glove, coat, and everything else. Do you ever
Yes.
have to say that? Or do you ever want to say run?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do. But that is the one thing that I pride myself on, is that I never give anyone the decision. That's why I say I give aha moments and light bulb moments. What I do is I work through it. I make sure that's why I do the worksheets, the games, because I want you to see it in your face. I want you to see it on your paper. That's why I tailor it to personal people because I know what I need to bring out of you. So I would say advice for a friend and for the person that is the loved one is to create the safe space to be there. They're not gonna always listen to anyone around them. Although they've been counseled, it really has to be with the personal growth. But do not give your honest opinion. I'm going to advise that only because, like I said, people don't always have the tools to have that effective conversation. I had that. I talked to my mom this morning, and we were having a healthy discussion. And I told her, I said, "Mom, you didn't know how to articulate your feelings about that." So that's why we haven't gotten past that yet. And unfortunately, some friends don't. When I was younger, I had a friend. I thought I did a good deed by telling her about her man, and she didn't want to be my friend anymore. So just create the safe space, and one day something will click. It might be 5 years, unfortunately. It might be 5 days, but it will never be received. And that's why what I do with coaching, that's why I didn't go into the psychology route or the therapy route, which nothing is wrong with those. I love those fields. But for me, it's because I gamify things.
Okay.
I make it to where it's exciting and for people to open up to it. And I don't just sit and talk because people that, like she said, people are counseled by many. They've talked to so many people, so they don't want to just come and talk to me, and I don't want to talk to them. I want to interact. That's why the pandemic was a little difficult for me, because I'm so interactive and I'm so that's how some people receive it. So that's how me and my clients are so aligned when it comes to that, because I know how to get them to apply. So I would say create the safe space.
Okay. So let's say for singles, because it seems
Hmm.
like we kind of went and we got about 7 minutes.
Okay.
Uh for singles, when they come to you,
Hmm.
why do they come to you?
Yes. So singles come to me to figure out what didn't work and why it isn't working. They come to me for those patterns that they have. And again, not necessarily outdated from their families, but something that they learned growing up, that they had, people, they attract the same people, or why is this happening to me? I get a lot of single women. I gave him my all. I gave him my all. And so we have to work from there, because they're like, I can't do the same thing over and over again. Cannot. So, what is going on with me? And also for healing, I have added a huge component of healing to my practice, because childhood trauma is very real and it spills into all of your adulthood
Mm.
relationships. Whether it's a coworker, from your childhood trauma, maybe your mom came home and all she did was complain about her coworker, so you're triggered in that space, or in intimate relationships. So single people for healing and wanting to break out of what they've been doing.
The patterns. Yeah. In
Mhm.
other words, you look at someone and it's like you keep choosing the same kind of
Yes.
man, or you
Yes.
keep choosing the same kind of woman, and then you
Mhm.
wonder why it doesn't work. And
Yes.
also, even some I know, they it's like, okay, you chose this, and you chose this man. It's the same
Mhm.
kind of man. It always ends up the same way.
Yes.
So what? So and they don't see,
Mhm.
those patterns, and they don't see the red flags. So
Yes.
so here's another question. Okay, so now
Mhm.
more than one came in at a time, and I got to get this. Okay. Oh, do you see any difference between people who meet online or in person?
Yes, I actually do. And this was even before I became a relationship coach, back in corporate, when those people were coming to me. I have seen more success with people that meet online. And I believe when I have did my surveys from everybody, it's because they take the time to just authentically get to know each other's without expectations and without the physical part. Now, no, we don't want to be catfish. We do want to see some pictures. But when you're face to face and you're in person, those other things can, take over. We're human, we're natural. It's natural. But online, I've seen those people get married quicker, long start families sooner, and are still together.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't meet my husband online. It's been a long time ago, but
Mhm,
it was a newspaper. It was
mhm,
a newspaper ad. Renita Dixon says that is interesting,
mhm.
and yes, we corresponded, talked. Before actually we even saw each other face eye to eye. We really didn't really know how we look. I mean, you describe
Yes.
yourself and all
Right,
that,
right.
you
Yeah.
know, but it was the person.
Mhm,
It was the person. So
mhm,
leave us with something. What would you like to leave
mhm.
with my audience?
Yes. I would like everyone to understand that if it's not working, it's okay to relearn. Relearn. You don't have to strip your entire life of what you had. Take your experiences and just relearn them. Personal growth and healing is the key. It's not scary, it's the key.
Okay. And if they would like to, where are you located?
I'm in Los Angeles, California. So it's fun when you were talking about the weather earlier. I was like, yes, because everyone loves sunny California, but we last week it was hot, and then today it dropped about 10 degrees, and it says this weekend is going to rain. And we're like, what
Oh,
is
girl, look,
happening
we
here?
don't even want to talk about 10 degrees. We here in
I
Chicago, girl, we
know.
can drop 40, 50 degrees in an hour.
Yes, that's the other thing about us LA and Cali people. Everybody is like, oh, please.
Yeah, right. Oh, please, it's right.
Yes.
So, if people would like to get in contact with you, I have
Hmm.
put your website, and for people who
Yes.
are just audible and can't
Hmm.
see us, it's www.kkeepsake.com.
Yes.
KKkeepsake.com. So that's www.kkeepsake.com. And if they can also see you through Linktree.
Hmm.
So, and that is Kenya as Keepsake.
Hmm.
Kenyas Keepsake. Kenya, not
Yes.
as, as.
Yes.
Kenya as Keepsake.
Yes.
Kenya, thank you so, so very much for being my guest. Um, you have enlightened me, and I know that you have enlightened my audience. So I really appreciate. I'm sending you a note.
Thank you.
So it's just where people wonder what's she doing. So I really appreciate you coming, and keep up the good work because it's really, really, really needed.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me. This was great.
And so have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day in sunny California.
Yes.
You see how I said that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Wow. It's been great. It's been great. You know what? Things get so interesting, and it gets late and it's like, wow. Sometimes people will say, oh, a whole hour? You don't want to watch you. I don't know if I can watch a whole hour, but you see, if you leave, you miss stuff. So I want to thank all of you who tuned in, audible, auditorily or audible, all of you who watched. I really, 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 really appreciate you. And this is you from me. I celebrate you because you do make a difference in my life. So I want you to remember there are all kinds of relationships. There are all kinds of relationship matters. Life is all about relationships. So I'll see you again next week. Bye bye.